Hello, and welcome to Super Geeks Season 2, Episode 14. My name is George, your host, and with me today, as always, is Carlos Pedraza. How you doing, Carlos?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Happy to be back.
Cool. And Sunseal, how you doing?
There's so many fires. You can't put them all out.
Okay.
That sums it up.
Kind of. And Shawn, how are you?
I'm doing great, George. I'm calling you live from the Waffle House in Woodstock, Georgia. No, I'm just kidding. Not really.
I'm the only one on this podcast who's been in a Waffle House in the last week.
That's true. But if you'd hit me a couple of weeks ago, I could have said the same thing because I was in one in Phoenix. So yeah, but no, I'm here actually in quite chilly Las Vegas, Nevada. It's like a fall hit us all of a sudden last week. So here we are, man.
I don't know how to handle that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's the truth. You don't know how to handle it. None of us do.
Yeah.
That's why I said there's so many fires.
There are a lot of fires to put out. So
just don't pee on any of them.
Yeah. Wow. Shawn, all right. Before I even get into the regular topics, Shawn, before I forget, go ahead, give us your review of Bohemian Rhapsody, non-spoilery. Get it out of your system.
Hold on, mate. Crouton. Damn, you get me right now. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Here's the thing. I thought it was amazing. I went into it a little skeptical because I had read very mixed reviews on it, and all I can say is that the critics who gave it poor reviews, they're very cynical because I thought it was a great movie. The performances were all magnificent for everyone in the film. The casting was outstanding, and from beginning to end, it's how do we put it? It's a damn near perfect film, is what it comes down to for a biopic. I don't really know how they could have done this any better. It was just a magnificent romp. Whether you're a Queen fan or not, I always say when it comes to Queen, it's like I always enjoyed their music. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a fan, but it's like Michael
I mean,
Jackson.
Queen is like in sync with sci-fi history. Like you got Flash Gordon, you got Highlander,
right?
Highlander,
exactly. Well, yeah, but it's like I'm a classic rock kind of guy, and but that's where my roots are to begin with. In my teens, I veered into punk, and and Queen has a very classic rock, and just like they're Queen with rock was kind of like it was like anarchy rock. They defied the rules of rock and roll, and they were just they were a band I always appreciated. Was never a huge fan, but I always appreciated. I was a little late for Queen. I was born in '75, so I was a little late for when Queen was really big. But the film was absolutely fantastic. Rami Malek was great. I went and I started. After I saw the film, I went and I watched a couple of Queen documentaries on YouTube, and of course, like you would imagine, a lot of stuff is dramatized, and they rearrange things in the film for dramatic purposes, which is fine. I expect that from any film. But what I picked up on is just when it came to the band members, just how well the supporting cast had them. And yes, this was primarily the Freddie Mercury movie, okay?
right?
But they focused so heavily on his relationship with the band and the rest of his bandmates, and how they really were like a family. And it was a great film. I would recommend it to anyone. It was a wonderful film all the way around. And I really can't say enough about it. I really want to go back and watch it again, and I hardly ever say that about any movie. I would actually pay to see this film again.
So I was going to say give it a rating between 1 and 10, but I'm kind of thinking if you want to go see it again, to me, that's
he's got to turn it up to 11.
Well, I'm going to say this. There's like I'm loath to give any movie a perfect 10. I would give this a 9.5
because you had to pee.
Wow.
And you thought you missed something.
very well, no, about very minor quibbles. I mean, just a couple of minor things that like, okay, they could have gone this way, but other than that, I mean, it was just it was a thoroughly good time, and I'm really glad I went to see it.
Awesome.
Well, I'm planning to see it. I'm hoping. Please tell me they perform "Fat Bottom Girls" in it, because that is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, Carlos, you and me both. That's my favorite Queen song of all time, and yes, they
Which
did.
song is this? I might actually link it.
"Fat Bottom Girls." Oh my God! It's like glam rock par excellence.
Yeah, and that hook.
That actually might be the title of this episode: "Glam Rock Excellence."
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, because that is my favorite Queen song of all time as well. So
really, because mine is Flash. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I've had quite a few friends in the LGBT community here who've said they've gone to see it, and they were more blown away by the honest and somewhat accurate portrayal of Freddie being bisexual more than anything.
Yes, it was very honest. It was done very very sympathetically, is the best way I can put it, because I mean, look, you're talking about an era 30, 40 years ago where, and of course he acknowledges in the film that, it's not nearly what it was today is today, as far as the openness to homosexuality, to being bisexual, and they handled it very, very well. I mean, it was. How do we put this? It's not that it was part of who
ahead of its time, maybe.
Well, yeah, and they dealt with it as, it was part of who he was, and they dealt with it as it was his own. He had his own personal struggles with it. So I mean, and I thought they addressed it. They addressed it as part of the overall package. They didn't.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that the actor demonstrates his internal struggle with his sexuality.
Well, it is the of course Rami Malek himself as the actor did it, but it's a matter of the way it was written. They didn't make it the focus of the film.
It was just there, but he did it right. As an actor. His job is to, you know what I mean, to bring it out,
and it was important. It was given the level of significance that it deserved, is what it comes down to.
It didn't ignore it. It didn't ignore it.
Right, and it didn't. How do we put it? It didn't under do it either. I felt it was the level of significance that they gave it was appropriate for telling his story, for telling for the overall arc of the entire film. So
you also have to remember that even by today's standards, most people who are bisexual are treated as, oh, you just haven't picked a side yet. You need to pick a side. And that's very true. It's not that way, and you can't make people be that way.
I had a friend of mine the other day. He asked me on Facebook after I raved about it. He asked, because he's got a 14-year-old daughter. He asked me if it would be appropriate for a 14-year-old girl, and my response was, I said, look, here's the thing. For that's for every parent to decide. But personally, for me, my daughter's 12, and I would have no problem taking her to see this movie. In fact, she wants to see it, and I want to go with her again.
Because of the fact that nobody knows, I'm not outing anybody. My daughter, when I was raising her as a single dad, okay, you guys can try all you want to try to. People out there, you're not going to find her, because I can't even find her. I'm just kidding. But as a father, when my dad was still alive, okay, and this is a little personal, but I mean, I think it fits the topic, so I'm just gonna go for it. I walked in one day, and my dad did too, and he was a little bothered by it. But even my dad, who at the time was in his late 60s, my daughter was kissing our girl. Okay, she was 14 at the time. Okay, and she's now married. She's 26. That doesn't mean that. The point I'm trying to make is that what you just said, Shawn, like you had a friend ask, should I bring my 14-year-old daughter? Well, look, when my daughter was 14, I walked in on her kissing a girl. and not kissing like friend, like experimentation. And you know what? No, I don't know. I just feel like people need to chill out. And this movie, like you just said, if somebody asks you, "Hey, can I bring my teenage kid? Is it appropriate?" That's a loaded question. But at the same time,
here's the thing. The
Go ahead.
reason I brought that up is because I think this is the problem. I think that the stigma of anything to do with sexuality in general. When we know, look, there's no getting around it. If you're going to have a Freddie Mercury movie, you're going to be talking about sexuality. It's going to come up.
Right.
So, but I think the problem is in our society is that there's this expectation that if homosexuality is brought up, that it's going to be like a Roman orgy or something. You know what I mean? I mean, and as opposed to just normalizing it and dealing with it for what it is. It's its own significance, depending on the art that we're dealing with here.
So because it informed the character who's a real person as a biopic, you believe that, from what I'm gathering, that you're saying they portrayed it accurately. Was there any kind of I don't know, have you guys heard anything? Has the family, the legacy of his family, have they complained about the portrayal on this film?
No, I haven't heard of anything like that. But I was just to expand on this a little bit more, is that you got to remember we are talking about a PG-13 film. Okay, it's not an R-rated film, so
it doesn't need to be.
Well,
you can cover these topics without being.
This is exactly the point, that you don't have to. That no one has to worry about anything, whether it be heterosexual or homosexual, of any kind of graphic sex.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
You got a little bit of kissing, is both straight and not straight. It does. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's just, it is what it is, and that's it. And it portrays it all very normally, and from the perspective of these characters and what they're dealing with. It's all done very well and very, very honestly. I think that's what Son had said. It's done very honestly and sincerely.
It is what it is, right? That's pretty much the best way. If that's how the person lived their life, they're telling an honest story. I was just curious as to whether the family, the estate of Freddie Mercury, complained, because sometimes that happens. They oftentimes
I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Nothing at all.
Oftentimes, though, what happens is they approach the family to say, do you have a problem with us portraying it? Do you want to correct anything? And they'll ask questions. In this case, apparently, I'm asking you guys because I'm assuming you may or may not have heard. It sounds like everybody's cool. So that's great. That means that if there's an honest portrayal on screen, it makes it more worthwhile to see this movie. At least to me. So I'm actually excited now to see this movie.
Enjoy it. I went into it a little hesitant, but like I said, the first time I saw it, when I saw it like about a year ago, when we were seeing test shots of Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, I was like, "Yep, I got to go see this." And then I got disappointed when the reviews started coming out and they were mixed. I said, "You know what? I'm still going to go see this," and I'm again very, very happy I did.
All right, that's awesome.
See, we've been seeing that a lot lately from movies, where the critics will say one thing and the audience will say completely something different, and it's like,
yep.
Well, obviously the critics don't know their audience anymore.
They don't, because they get paid to be critical, and they have their own, sometimes misinformed. The whole thing about criticism, you haven't had a good since Siskel and Ebert. The standards have dropped, but that's a whole nother topic. Anyway.
That is a whole other topic. I think with any kind of biopic, you run into potential problems because you can't cover their entire life. You just can't. It's a 2-hour movie, and so there are going to be things that aren't covered or glossed over, and someone who connects to that part of the person will feel like they're personally slighted. For example, I didn't know that Freddie Mercury was Asian, and he grew up
really?
Practicing Zoroastrianism, which,
boy,
you don't run into that very often anymore. It's a very old religion, and so that part of his background, like his family life, he actually was he lived in Zanzibar for some time.
Yeah, parents are Indian.
Yeah, and so I didn't know that. So there's a lot about him, and a person's ethnic heritage and cultural heritage and religious heritage. Those things play a pretty big role in who you turn out to be, and for it not to be covered in a biopic, and I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not passing judgment. But my point is that there are important parts that, by their absence, leaves gaps, and for people who care about this person and what role he played in the world, they may not like the fact that those things are gaps.
And you segued perfectly into, this is a spoiler-free overview. Quick thing I'm going to say. I watched Doctor Who tonight, and the episode was about Yaz and her grandmother, and the thing that happened that separated India from Pakistan. It was a informative, historic. I'm 48 years old. I just turned 48, October 2nd, and I didn't know any of this history. I didn't know this happened. That because of the Hindu and the Muslim thing, that they actually took a map and they went and they split, and over 1 million people died in this fight, in this struggle in 1947. Doctor Who, it was like Rosa in a sense that it was a historically informative episode, but they did it in a way where you're using Yaz and her family because she wanted to learn more about her grandmother. The episode starts with her having a birthday celebration with her grandmother, and her grandmother's kind of shushing up and going, she had a watch. I'm not spoiling, I promise you. She's like, and there's stuff you don't know. So she says to the doctor later, I want to know. And you have a time machine. Well, all I'm going to say is I didn't even know that this happened. Now I do.
You've never seen Gandhi? Because it's pretty well covered in Gandhi. You should go. No. If you haven't seen Gandhi, go see it, because they actually give a lot of context around.
But was that in 1947 around that time?
Yes.
Alert, if you've seen Gandhi, you've seen the episode.
No, actually, because it was specific to Yaz and her family history, and they introduced some new. I know, but they introduced some new aliens, by the way. And I'm not spoiling. I'm just letting you guys know. Doctor Who.
Well, let's not go too deep, because I know you're going to be doing a reaction episode with Sun, and we don't want to,
Well, we might be doing that reaction in like 3 weeks.
Oh,
damn! No,
that was a burn, George.
Hey, not for nothing, but I just watched last week's episode last night. Was it supposed to put me to sleep? I'm curious.
Okay, I had the total opposite reaction.
Me too.
I loved that episode.
I did too. Still haven't seen the episode because I'm waiting for George to get the last reaction out.
I may have just been tired. I will go back.
I think you were.
I will watch.
Remember that story I told about my buddy who saw Lord of the Rings after work? Remember that? That's you.
Yeah, I do. Yes,
that's you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because it was a great episode.
Oh my God, I'm Sleepy Gary. Do you remember that?
Yeah. No, definitely give it a shot, because I heard mixed reviews from various. I don't know what the overall reaction was, but I heard some people on Twitter and so forth, not liking it, and so I went in going, oh, maybe I won't like this. But I actually thought
I loved it.
It was a great episode. It was way better than the stupid arachnids in the UK, which I'm sorry, that just was a subpar episode. By the way,
from this point on, after tonight's episode, Chris Chibnall only wrote up to this point. Everything that's coming next is freelance writers. So therefore, this is going to be a wild race to the end. That's what I'm saying. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it develops as we move into the next phase of the season.
Yeah, and I'm kind of disappointed. We didn't talk about this, but there's going to be no Christmas episode this year.
But there will be a New Year. I was informed by Shell during the Dayton episode that they're making up for it, because here's the stupid part. They're doing a New Year's Eve. I guess this time it's going to be different. It's New Year's episode, but Chibnall couldn't. He said his reason why he didn't do a Christmas episode, he didn't have any good ideas. And I'm
Well,
like,
you know what? That's been the way for the last 3 years. I mean, I can't be really that disappointed because it's been the Christmas episodes have been so far removed from the holiday, and what made the other Christmas episodes great, that it's like, okay, fine, do it on New Year's, whatever.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. It's like it's more about having that bonus episode as a Christmas present
bonus.
is the way I look
Exactly.
at it.
Right.
And I'm fine waiting a few more days for it to be a New Year's present. So I'm cool with it as long as it's a good story.
We get one extra episode, so I'm not mad.
Yeah, no complaints.
Well, if you think about it from a Japanese point of view, then the New Year would actually make more sense because it's reversed it's reversed in Japan. Christmas is spent with your close loved ones, and the New Year's is spent with the family.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. I have a lot of friends that live in Japan. Well, when I say a lot of friends, I mean one. But
okay, thanks for clarifying that.
well, I mean his name's Lyle. Hi, Lyle. Anyways.
Okay, so we'll see how this next episode develops. I hope, son, that you see this more recent episode, and I would love to hear what you think about it.
I'm just anal retentive about my updates.
I'm sorry, I had to put up the date and episode first and then I got sidetracked with the Bat Radio thing.
Yeah.
I get manic. I'm
It's
sorry.
been a week. It's been a week. What a week.
I even offered a caveat. I said, hey, I'll do a double episode. No, I'm anal that way.
Just pester.
I'm not even gonna watch it. Unless George puts up the first one. I'm like, come on, really? She's like, really? I'm like, okay.
Oh,
okay.
Like, it's not that it's not even that I'm being that mean, George. I'm not that mean. I'm just like,
I don't
look,
see it as mean.
I want to be sequential about this.
Poke.
Okay,
so I think we've reached the end of that topic.
Yeah, I was about to say. Anyways,
we've got some other cool stuff to talk about.
We
Let's move on to that.
We absolutely do.
It's like the McLaughlin group of geeks here. Next issue,
Freddie Barnes.
Are you guys married? Because you fight like a married couple.
I loved the McLaughlin group back in the day. It was like Freddie Barnes.
The only thing better than the McLaughlin group was Dana Carvey doing it on Saturday Night Live back in the day. That was the only thing better.
That was pretty good. You realize we basically dated ourselves.
Yep.
We really have. We are old men, and our audience.
Please tell me you don't kiss at the end of those dates.
Okay. So Michelle Yeoh. Hey yo. No, I'm just kidding. But Michelle Yeoh, that was a bad joke. It just lends itself, but sometimes it doesn't work. And in this case, it didn't. But anyways, Michelle Yeoh may be getting a spin-off series from Star Trek to be, I'm guessing, Section 31 with her character, Giorgio, which, I like that name. What do you guys think?
Does it have to be Section 31?
Well,
I'm pro.
It does,
I'm pro. I love Michelle Yeoh. I know that Shawn has a slightly different opinion of her performance recently in Discovery.
Mean to me yesterday, Carlos.
I was mean to you. We'll replicate that here, I'm sure.
Yeah, replicate it because I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I think it's great news. I think the fact that with all of these Star Trek series that are being proposed, they are very different from what we've seen before, and I think that's great. I think if you're talking about moving into a world of building new fans, bringing in new fans, bringing in younger fans, you can't just keep making your grandfather's Star Trek anymore. And so I think it's great. Section 31, I feel is I follow this guy, and if you haven't checked out his Twitter feed, you totally should, because he's amazing. He's one of my favorite Star Trek people out there. His name is Lee Sargent.
I know. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's an artist, and he's been doing this 365 days of Star Trek thing. So every day he does watercolors, and he does some humorous kind of look or recreation of some scene from one of the Star Trek series or movies, and it kind of looks rudimentary until you look more deeply and you see that the art is just fantastic. Anyway, so I follow him on Twitter. I retweet his stuff all the time on the Axe Monitor account. But today he posted on Twitter that Section 31 is probably my most hated storyline in Star Trek, or it's a tie for it with the Mirror Universe. And of course, those are two of my favorite things of Star Trek. So it just goes to show
contrast, yes.
You and I both. I love the going dark with Star Trek. I think it's a nice twist. I agree.
Yeah, it's the contrast that makes people interested.
Yeah, and for those people who the biggest complaint you're hearing is, oh, it's giving up on the on the optimism of Star Trek, and I think that's
at all. It's
crap,
reminding you. It's
exactly. It's in stark
agree.
relief. It puts the optimism in stark relief.
Totally. Yep. Absolutely. I think I could not agree with that.
You kind of have to
more.
Yeah, you have to look at it from the other side of what could have been. It's like, in order to appreciate freedom, you have to remember what could happen if you didn't have it. So you need to see that mirror opposite. That's why these stories are compelling. That's just my opinion.
It's also a contemporary reminder of where we currently are,
and where we could be.
That we're kind of where we are right now. We're kind of straddling the line between looking forward to a world that Gene Roddenberry envisioned with the United Federation of Planets and Starfleet, or we could be taking the other step where we are the Terran Empire. I mean,
which is interesting because, Shawn, if you had been here last week, I'm just saying, Dayton, I asked him, did your military experience in the Marine Corps affect your writing? And he said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, I would like to think it did. And then he said especially the militant part of Star Trek. So when somebody has to say the militant part of Star Trek, think about it. Gene hated that. That's why in the Red Jacket uniforms, starting with the Wrath of Khan, bothered Gene Roddenberry. He got into a big fight with, and you probably know this, Carlos, Harb Bennett. And
yeah, I know.
Because he had a problem with the militant version of those uniforms. The fans love those uniforms. Probably in history, that's the most loved uniforms.
Well, I mean,
they're militant.
Timing of that. Well, that was the perfect timing of it. That was the Reagan era, smack dab in the middle of the Cold War. I mean, that's
right.
We were very this country.
But you can be militant. What I'm saying is, you can be militant and still strive for peace. The goal of a soldier, like Doctor Who has said, which I've always mixed when it comes to the writers of Doctor Who when it comes to the military. But the truth is, the soldier's job is to protect everybody, to bring people home, to stop. They don't want to fight to kill people. They're trying to protect everyone. And that's the goal. And Star Trek has a militant look. That's not always a bad thing. The military exists for a certain reason.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Go ahead.
And I just feel that by that point in Star Trek history, Gene Roddenberry had lost touch with what Star Trek fans wanted. I think a lot of people have retconned him into being this demigod, and I admire him. So this is coming from a place of admiration,
it's like
but not worship. I don't worship Gene Roddenberry. I admire his accomplishments. I admire what he built, but you also have to look realistically at the fact that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was it wasn't a failure, but it didn't lift up Star Trek could have died at the end of that. And the only reason it didn't was because, Nicholas Meyer took it in a new direction, in this direction with different, with actual conflict and people, between humans, between characters, not this sort of abstract thing like we saw, with Voyager and
that's a great point, actually. Yeah.
And, it's why when he got control of Star Trek The Next Generation again, we saw the same problems in seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Scants. Yeah.
We saw scants, we saw pajamas for uniforms, we saw lack of conflict, we saw retreads of original series episodes, and I'm sorry, but those things,
it's not real.
That's not where Star Trek needed to go.
Here's how I look at this, and I totally agree with Carlos on this, and of course you guys as well. But it's funny because Gene Roddenberry is very similar to the Star Trek fan of today, the old Star Trek fans, the ones that are against any change whatsoever. He was, from what I can tell, is that he was perpetually stuck in the mode of the original series. But the problem is that we were a decade and a half, 2 decades later, and he was still trying to recycle the original series Star Trek brand.
Well, I would argue actually that he wasn't trying to recycle. I think what happened was he fell prey. He bought his own hype. As we moved into the 70s and people began to worship him and as a humanist and someone who was a proponent of peace and so forth, which are all great things, but they're not drama, and so exactly. Because if you look at the original series, there was plenty of conflict, there was plenty of action, there was war, there was all these things that supposedly Gene's dream was not about, and in fact they are about. People have cherry picked bits of the original series,
like action and
his. That's a whole other thing. But
I know, I'm joking.
But my point is that this notion of somehow being a betrayal of Gene's dream is it's a canard. He espoused certain things.
And by the way, audience, we're not talking about canard, the drink that the Kardashians.
Well, so Carlos, what you're getting, what your perspective, if I'm getting this right, is that by the time we hit the 80s or hit the late 70s, 80s. Like you said, Roddenberry had believed his own hype so much, he thought that that's where the audience was.
Exactly.
Even though they weren't, they were, like you said, they give us drama, give us conflict, give us something we can sink our teeth into.
Yeah, the utopian vision of the future. You can say yes to that on Earth, but you can't say that in life.
And there was a reason why in the original series we never saw Earth. We never saw Earth in the original series.
That's a good point.
And they made a point of saying we're not going to see Earth because Earth was a utopia in the original series, and they understood that doing anything on Earth would leach the drama out of things. That
it's
the whole point of there's a reason why it was called the Final Frontier. I mean, it was supposed to be about what human beings were discovering and experiencing on the frontier.
Yes.
That's like trying to do a Western set in New York City.
Earth.
No, that makes total sense, actually.
Yeah,
I never thought about it that. Carlos, I never thought about that. Hold on, Shawn. I never thought about the context of what you just said, but, it's true. We never saw Earth until TNG. Season, wait, did they do it before?
Yeah, and even then, it was after Gene Roddenberry was no longer, a creative force behind the show.
Sorry, Shawn, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say the only time that we saw Earth was either in time travel episodes or from
Star Trek 3, I think.
Well, no, I'm talking about the original series here. The only time we saw Earth during the original series was either through
in the past,
time travel episodes, or
past tense, right?
Or in
oh no, you're right. The time travel, the ISIS episode with Gary 7.
There's plenty more than that. They're sitting on the edge of forever.
There's plenty more. It's when they went back in the 60s, the Gary 7 episode, when they went back in the Guardian of Forever. It's always Earth in the past.
It's we've never seen Earth. Here's all these episodes.
Right. But
I meant contemporary.
It was done from a perspective looking through a lens in the past, the same way that when they went to Earth, like analog type planets, for example, in Miri, when they went to the planet that was exactly like Earth. I'm drawing a complete blank.
The Nazi Earth.
Patterns of Force, correct.
That was the Roman one, yeah.
You got
no, Patterns of Force was the Nazi one.
That's a
Nazi
one.
Right. But then we also had the Roman.
Yeah, right.
Bread and circuses. We had a piece of the action, and I'm drawing complete blank on this because I always reference it.
There was the actual Cold War with the commies and the Yankees.
Yeah,
that wasn't really an Earth analog, but
they literally had a Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, but that was introduced by a Starfleet officer who wrote the Prime Directive.
He's right there.
The Omega Glory is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
I know far too many episodes off the top of my head.
You guys, audience people, we are not Googling. This is live. This is our brains. This is our brains on the frying pan.
But see, that episode in that episode though, the Yankees had those sacred texts before the other captain even arrived on that planet. The communists had won that war.
I'm pretty sure
Eid plebnista. Well, but this is all going a little bit far afield from the Section 31 point, which is, if I can bring us back 31? Around to that. Again, my point is that that the people who are whining about there being a Section 31 series and it being too dark and too negative, it's way too early to jump to those sorts of conclusions. For one thing, we've only seen like the barest slice of what Section 31 is. In Deep Space Nine, a little bit in Enterprise, and we're assuming that everyone from Section 31 is just as evil as everyone is, the few people that we've seen. And this is actually a great, Section 31 actually stands for something good in sort of the bigger sense, which is protecting the Federation, and that the galaxy needs a Federation that can survive the challenges that come up before it. And I have no doubt that there are people in Section 31 whom you would consider to be good guys, and there's internal struggles around what the right thing to do is, and that's drama, folks.
Yeah, and not only that, but I actually think you just brought up a good point, Carlos, because the characters we've been introduced to in the Section 31 have been the worst examples. You know how Kirk and the Enterprise, people always ask, well, they do. They say, why this ship? Why this crew? Well, because when you have a show, you want to make them show that they're the best example of humanity. Section 31 was always made out to be the worst example, and yet they're a government controlled entity that exists behind.
They're sanctioned, is what they are.
Yeah, well, kind of, but the point is that they are made out to be this evil entity because they are trying to juxtapose that with the fact that we do have these parallels in our real life when it comes to the government. The government has shades and shadows and things that happen within the system. Now, the thing is that, like Carlos just said, sometimes these people people don't sign on to be the bad guys. Okay? That's what I'm hoping that they show. Now, with Michelle Yeoh's character, I don't know, because she was a former empress, so her dynamic is a little bit different than most people. But the Black Badge, I'm thinking maybe that's the name of the show, Star Trek Black Badge. What do you think?
I don't even think.
I think it's way too early to even think about that.
Right?
Can I get something in here? Why does it have to be Section 31?
Because it's that character.
We know she's joining Section 31.
They already confirmed, actually, son, hold on. Just so you know, it has been confirmed it is a Section 31 show.
I have not seen that anywhere.
Can I finish?
I see nothing but speculation.
No, it's not actually. Go ahead.
Okay, why does it have to be Section 31? You literally have a character who has been lifted from her own universe and her own quote-unquote honorable death as an empress being overthrown, and you've thrown her into an entirely what she would see as a happy-go-lucky and carefree kind of utopian universe that she finds absolutely and utterly disgusting. and the biggest person in her life said, keep your nose clean. The only thing I'm thinking about with a Michelle Yeoh spin-off anything would be she's literally going to be Harry Mudd, but not the male chauvinist version. She's going to be that sly, crooked, underhanded, dealy person who is making all these deals, quote-unquote, legitimately, but it's still all illicit goods and this and that and or the other. And yeah, she could wind up helping the Klingon Empire in a war, or the Federation in a war, or the Romulans in a war, but she did it all legally.
I'm actually thinking now that they're going to get Harry Mudd to be her. They're going to get married.
Oh God, no!
No, they will.
God, no!
They'll at least have sex.
That will not happen.
Yes, it will. I guarantee
it
you.
will not happen. I guarantee you it won't. I don't even know where you're coming up with this.
Where am I?
My brain operates on a different wavelength. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that.
Oh my Christ!
There's a reason that will never
Harry
happen.
Mudd. I'm shipping it now, people. Harry Mudd, Michelle Yeoh's character, Empress Giorgio.
Do you know why that's not going to happen, George?
No, because I know it will happen.
Do you know why that's not going to happen, George? Because we have already seen in this that he is betrothed to the woman that is going to be his nagging wife.
Does not mean he doesn't have sex with her.
Not gonna happen.
She said get married.
They're gonna have sex. I'm sorry.
What even says to you that that's gonna happen? There's zero evidence for that.
Yeah, there is.
Not to mention the fact that it's and I'm sorry
there is a lot.
Put it this way, but it's a dumb idea. It just doesn't make any sense. There's you don't get any payoff.
I'm going to save this episode in my Facebook.
You do.
And I'm telling you,
Mirror Universe George has spoken.
No, this is the real George talking. I'm telling you right now, they're going to have sex. You're going to watch an episode where she wakes up and she does that stupid shit that they do on TV where she has to wrap a blanket on her boobs for some reason, and Harry Mudd's in the bed. I'm telling you.
Not going to happen. All right, so let's move on to
the next subject, which is...
Well, I mean, talking about the show, and, I think that we don't know for sure. Actually, I can't find any confirmation that that this is for sure a Section 31 show.
It's a rumor at this point, but still, it's probably going to happen.
Okay, well, here's the
I tend to believe it will be. I think that makes sense, but anything can happen.
Well, I always say I agree with certain people like John Campia. You know who he is. Check the source, and the sources, they're legit. So I believe this is going to happen.
Burn it down. Burn the whole thing down.
Okay, Variety and THR have reported this, and everybody else have gone off and they've subsequently reported the same thing, but seem to add their own on there. I don't trust anything other than the fact that they've got sources that say that they're negotiating with Yeoh for a Star Trek spinoff.
But they did the same thing for Picard, and it happened. So just keep the same sources.
So there's been almost zero information about what the substance of the Picard show is. Now, Deadline.
But it's happening, though.
Well, yeah, but that's not the point. The point isn't we know it's going to happen. We know this show is probably going to happen.
Oh,
the question is, what is it going to be
Section
30. Okay,
we don't know anything about the Picard show whatsoever.
Actually, you have a good point. No, you have
burn it down. Burn it all down.
She might actually not. She might have left Section 31 at the point at the show. I see what you're saying now.
It does make sense for that to have happened because, well, for one thing, Deadline's reporting on this says that it looks likely that it's going to be a Section 31 show. But it also points out that this is not a sure thing because she has commitments to a sequel for Crazy Rich Asians. And then she also has an overall deal with another entertainment firm on top of what she's doing on Discovery. So
but she can't work around that.
That's a lot to work around, brother. I mean, I could have sworn that I read somewhere that they're actually talking about, since the success of Crazy Rich Asians, they're talking about taking that to series as well and having her be part of that as well. I mean, she's hot right now. I mean, this with everything that's going on with her,
Michelle Yeoh is the new Lucy Liu.
I mean, it's kind of
She
crazy
kinda
that
is.
she's hit. It's hitting all at once. She may not have to. I mean, look, she may have to choose between. Okay, am I gonna go with the Star Trek franchise, or am I gonna stick with this my own franchise right here? With that I can really put my mark on, right? That's already got acclaim for how well the film did. What this it may be a tough choice for her, and she can do both. That's just
Nah.
badass. But
She's actually pretty. She. If you listen to her in the interviews, she actually does seem to care about the character of Giorgio.
Oh, of course she does. It's just a
course.
question of all these things are about real world issues around money and commitments and time
Right.
commitments and all of that. And it's likely that and this is one of the great things actually about streaming shows these days is that very few of them are like network shows that go 20 to 24 episodes a year. They tend to be more around 10 to 15 episodes a year. And
So you can
that
get two
means
in.
that you have actually quite a bit of free time, or time outside of your commitment to a streaming show than you would a broadcast show. So, I mean, I'm not trying to throw water on this. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that have to come together, and it's certainly
Right. A lot of
possible
variables.
and even probable that they will.
It's a hot topic. It's
Right.
a hot topic.
Yeah.
And we are going to hear more about this in the days to come because this just came out.
Speaking of hot topics that need water thrown on them,
You go, son.
Do it.
so apparently the Westworld set burned down.
It
Oh
did.
my.
Oh, well put.
Oh, that's dark. Okay, getting darker.
I've never watched
you
Westworld.
You win the podcast today, son.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my. That was
Your
dark.
attention to detail is commended. I'm giving Son an official, not that it means anything, a gold star. But anyways, yeah, it did burn down. Geez, Son, since you go for it, you bring this up. Talk about it.
I don't have the article. You do, George. I was just
man.
trying to segue.
Damn. So yeah, well, there isn't like much to bring up. The Westworld set burnt down, like Son said, because of those California fires that are happening right now. It just sucks. How do we feel about that, Carlos?
Well, I mean, it's the cost of doing business. They'll end up, rebuilding it. It's like, it was part of the Paramount Ranch, which is outside LA, and that property is used for, as locations for a lot of different movies and so forth. And I expect they will. I don't know if insurance covers it, but it's a sunk cost. They'll end up rebuilding it, and life will move on.
Yeah. My brother. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've seen this happen before. Like I said, I was talking before the show. We've seen this before in Harry Potter when the original Hogwarts burnt down, which is why they had to move the Weeping Willow, and then the entire interior, what appears interior of the castle, just changed. And if I'm not mistaken, the original
As if by
Hobbiton
magic.
also burnt down as well.
Yeah, I've actually visited Hobbiton in New Zealand, and one of the things that they mention on the tour there is that it was actually built in phases, almost like a subdivision. With each successive movie, they built on more parts of Hobbiton. Expanded the size of that location set. So, they bounce back. When you're talking about the size of the budgets of things like this, building sets is what you do. They have the budget to do it. It was a cost savings that the Paramount Ranch already existed. But the reality is that the cost for rebuilding it is going to be amortized over a large number of of films, not just Westworld. So it's a bump in the road. Westworld was not in production at the time. They'll fix it.
Carl,
Yeah.
quick question on that. Was that built specifically for Westworld, or was it built for something else and Westworld's just been using it?
No, it was built long ago for lots of things. The site's been technically the ranch is part of National Park Service land, and was first started shooting films there in 1927. So as far back as Bob Hope, the Lake House with Sandra Bullock was shot there. The Mentalist, Weeds, Quick Draw, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. So it's been used over and over and over again in TV shows and movies since 1927.
Informed. Yeah, you're really more informed than I could possibly imagine. Just so you know, Dr. Quinn. Really?
Yeah. I like to read.
Well, it's like that backlot town that they had for Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the universal backlot.
So, I mean, obviously, that's the reason it was even a subject that we were going to talk about is because it's an unfortunate event, and I feel bad. But at the same time, if you're going to have a lot of fires in that area, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to this. Part of me wants to say, pick a different location. I don't know that doesn't get these fires.
Well, they know what they're getting.
We're running out of locations like that.
Right. I'm sure. Exactly. I'm sure that they have insurance for this. But again, like Carlos says, this is amortized. I mean, you do the sunk cost the first time. I mean, you just keep reusing these sets over and over and over again, and they're going to pay. They're going to more than pay for themselves. I mean, and in the case of Westworld here, Westworld's just one production. It sounds like they're just one production that's used these sets, and of course, Westworld is a huge hit for HBO, so we'll see another set. Don't worry about it.
Think about how many people bought the Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman box sets on DVD. I mean, come on.
Like 6,
so
7, maybe?
It lives in the memory or the box sets. But there's a number of really famous sets like this. You mentioned the Back to the Future one. There was an older New York set that was built originally for Hello Dolly that you saw in movies again and again and again and TV. I think that was on the Fox lot, and it was a huge set, but that cost again was spread out over probably dozens of productions in the years since, and even more recently, the WB and then CW series Gilmore Girls. They built a whole town, New England town, set, with a gazebo and shops and streets and so forth.
Right.
And you've seen, and that show was canceled, 3 or 4, 5 seasons in. But that set has lived on in so many other shows and movies. So so you see this a lot. This is very common in the industry.
Hey, since we're back to Star Trek, City on the Edge of Forever, that was filmed in Mayberry. If you watch, if you pay attention when they're walking, Edith Keeler and Kirk.
I never knew that.
Street, you will see Floyd's barbershop.
Sure. I mean, when I was on the Paramount lot, years ago, we got, when I was working with Star Trek New Voyages, we got J.J. Abrams arranged for the cast and crew that we were in Los Angeles for. I think it was the premiere of World Enough in Time, and J.J. Abrams, who was a fan of Star Trek New Voyages, arranged for a tour of the Paramount lot. So,
Carlos, were you involved in World Enough in Time?
I was one of the executive producers on World Enough in Time.
Oh, I'm gonna fan geek on you anytime.
I also was script supervisor on that, so I was on
I love that final
for...
scene. Not to distract, but I love that final scene with the him getting his granddaughter in his arms. Awesome.
Yeah, that was a lovely scene.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a random thought. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is that when they gave us this tour, we actually walked through the old New York set on the Paramount lot, and they pointed out that is where Edith Keeler's
death scene.
Not the death scene, where her the soup kitchen that she ran. That's where it is, down those stairs. Okay. And I was like, oh my God. It was like I could see the image in my mind as I was looking at
was it the 31st Street Mission? Is that what it was? The 31st?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, those scenes, they reuse those sets all the time. The famous scene in Cloverfield that's supposedly in Central Park, and what was it? Something crashes down in the middle of Central Park. That's actually shot on a piece of grass in front of Lucille Ball's old fake house on the Paramount lot that she created to be a duplicate of her house in upstate New York, so that she could fool people about being in upstate New York when she actually had never left LA, which I think is a hilarious story. Right in front of that is this big lawn, and that's where that scene from Cloverfield was shot.
Wow. Wow.
That's great.
I don't know how to react to that. Wait, I just did. Anyways.
Lucille Ball was trolling us before we even knew what trolling
Oh yeah, it was great. She would. That's how she would fool the press. She would have pictures taken of her, sitting out in front of her lake house, and it was actually on the Paramount set lot.
Can you imagine if she had Twitter right now? It'd be crazy.
Oh, she'd be trolling us all.
Exactly, it'd be outstanding.
I mean, Jesus. So I'm going to move on to another subject, just because if I don't,
we got to talk about Star Wars or what?
Well,
we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Well, if you want to go there, Rogue One is getting a prequel. Rogue One is getting a prequel series, which I think is stupid. Anyone want to jump in on that?
Well, let me tell you something. Here's what I want to say about this. First, I would have been far happier if we had a solo prequel series, because I really want to see the adventures of Han and Chewie.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
You want to see a solo prequel? Think about what you're saying. We're already getting a prequel. That by itself was already a prequel. So you want to go beyond the prequel?
No. Let me restate that, because this is the problem when we're talking about Star Wars. I like to see a solo series, a young Han Solo series. This is what I would enjoy seeing, because I truly love the chemistry.
But we're talking about Rogue One.
I know, but I will say this. I have mixed feelings on this for a couple of reasons. The issue is, I thought they were concerned about oversaturation. Number one, okay. Number two, but on the other side of this, I do like the idea of it. I mean, the idea of the story of it being a dark, like spy story, and all the ambiguity, like of the like what we're talking about, like a Section 31, with all the ambiguous morality involved in that. I like that idea. And here's the thing: I want to point this out, and this is what I'm going to need Carlos to comment on for me, because between the fact that we've got Diego Luna, who apparently will be reprising his role,
that's my issue with the whole thing, is they're picking the least interesting character in the whole movie. Cassian Andor.
Well, I mean, aren't they? Isn't the whole point of a prequel to cover the Bothan side of the story?
No, that you're thinking of Return of the Jedi. That was the second Death Star. Everybody gets that mixed up. Seriously, it's the second Death Star plans that you're talking about. The Bothans were involved in the Return of the Jedi second Death Star plans, not the ones from Rogue One.
Many Bothans had to die for this podcast.
They did.
Exactly. So, okay. So
look, this just proves I'm not like a hardcore fan. Sue me.
My lawyer has been PM'd.
So we've got Diego Luna, who's going to be reprising his role. Okay, we know this now. And the rumor, whether it's true or not, is that my latest man crush, Pedro Pascal from Narcos, and Game of Thrones, will be taking over.
The Mandalorian, but that's a different show.
Right, exactly. So here's what we got here. We've got two just sexy Latin guys in the lead role in the Star Wars series. So the question for Carlos is, has he been cast yet for the next Star Wars series? That's what I want to know.
Have you?
No, because he is not Antonio Banderas.
Oh, if the guy you're talking about has been cast yet?
No, if you have you been contacted by Lucasfilm? Since
Oh, me myself?
Yeah, because they're only going with sexy Latin ladies. I figured you were next on the list, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm way down on that list. But I appreciate the thought.
It was a fair question. I mean,
my point on my perspective on this is that Marvel has been, and I'm sorry, Disney has been, well, they're the same thing now these days, has been very successful with their feature film strategy. And the question is, this is a series, and series are a different animal. They have to have a premise that can survive, a few dozen episodes, several dozen episodes, as opposed to a film where you're basically exploring, one idea. So is this enough for a sustainable series? It could be, depending on how deep you want to go into what the rebellion, what the formative years of the rebellion were like. One of the things that I was disturbed about with the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, was that the amount of time between Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader, and the end of the Empire is a relatively short period of time. It's the lifespan of Luke and Leia, and which is not that long a time.
Leia,
what are you? It's what, 18, 22 years, something like that. It's
something
like that.
Short period of time, considering how long the Old Republic stood for.
Exactly, and so I really felt like they telescoped that in a way that just it made the overthrow of the Empire mean less, because it hadn't really been around that long. It was basically like a coup rather than a building up of a huge rebellion. So I don't know. I mean, that was an unfortunate decision, I thought. Because that doesn't really leave a lot of time to build a big rebellion. That's substantive and so forth. But we'll see. I mean, they're doing it. They're thinking of it as a spy thriller with espionage and daring missions and so forth, and and battling the Empire. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a sustainable premise for a series?
Idea. If you want me to just look, he was the most least interesting character in that movie. So okay. I will give some flair for the fact you can take an unpopular attempt and make it into an awesome series. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That is but you had to change actresses and you had to reformat the whole show. But
well, that's because that depends on who you select to to be the showrunner, to be the creator.
Well,
so there are people out there who could, I'm sure,
in general, yes, I will give them that license. I will give them the license, but they're picking the same.
That's very gracious of you.
Yes, but they did say it's the same guy, right? Didn't they, in that article, that they wanted to cast the same guy?
Yeah, Diego Luna. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's an issue of that.
You have to reinterpret him.
Well, I don't know if you had to reinterpret him so much, but the problem with him is they just look. This is the biggest problem with Rogue One to begin with. Is that in my opinion, they had a bunch of potentially great characters that were all basically, that they didn't flesh out at all. I mean, I love Rogue One. I thought it was a really fun film, but it was the characters. All of them were kind of milquetoast. I mean, there wasn't, except for who's our KSO?
Felicity.
No,
Donnie Yen?
our droid. our droid, the droid in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh
Doug
yeah,
Jones.
I really liked him.
He was the best part of the whole thing. But as far as characters were concerned, but the rest of them they were all kind of generic. I mean, it wasn't Cassian Andor wasn't really any more or less generic than any of the other ones. I like what's his face here. It's this is how little of an impression the characters made of me. But the father, the guy who developed the plan. Well, I can't remember who it was. The guy.
Yeah, I can't either.
He was a guy in Hannibal. I thought he was the best character of all, and he got so little screen time. I was like, I want to know more about him. But I mean,
there are books,
Well, I know that, but what I'm saying is they could have. I'm at least I'm hoping they'll at least try to flesh this out a bit. Here's the problem with the Star Wars universe. Okay, they have to draw there's a very fine line that you've got the original trilogy and of course the prequel trilogy which all blends together. Okay, that's one part of the Star Wars, and if they start veering I get concerned if they're going to start veering too far off that path, not for me personally but for the audience, because it's not like the Star Trek universe where it's, you go into the Star Wars universe for that specific mythology. Okay. The Star Trek universe is a totally different animal, which is why I agree with Carlos. You can take a lot more risks. You can do a Section 31 series. You can do a Picard series. You can do, hell, if you can do a limited series on Netflix, like they were rumored about last year of Khan on SETI Alpha 5. And it would work. You can do 20-minute shorts for Discovery that take one episode takes place 1,000 years in the future, and you can get away with it. I don't.
Which P.S. I hope we talk about before we're done tonight.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my God, you're fired.
I should.
Actually, I haven't either, but that's only because I didn't want to pay any money.
We'll definitely we should definitely do it next week. But here's the thing, though, is that
I know I'm an ass.
I think you're a little bit more constrained within the Star Wars universe for their audience, their particular audience. Look, for myself, I'm down with it. I'm cool with it. You throw a new Star Wars at me, I'm gonna lap it up because I'm an idiot that way. So, I just keep feeding me more. But I think they have to be very careful about how they do this. And now we are getting to a point with Star Wars where we're getting oversaturated. We talked about this a few weeks ago, where what made Star Wars so special was the anticipation, the waiting for that next film to come out, and now we're getting flooded with it, and that's what hurt Solo. They should not have released that film 5 months after episode 8. They just should not have done it. I think they should have at least waited till Christmas. I bet they would have done a lot.
Well, I mean, the universe agrees with that. I mean, they fired people.
It was a terrible decision, and this all goes into play here. I'm hoping for the best on this. And honestly, I'm not expecting the worst because I think Lucasfilm really does know what they're doing. I think they understand their product, and I think look, the billions they've made since Disney took it over. Okay, they do know what they're doing, and as they do know how to recover from mistakes. So I'm gonna suggest that I have more of I'm more optimistic that they'll be able to sort it out. But like I said, this whole idea does kind of make me wince a little bit too. I'm with you on that, George.
All right. You know what?
I agree. I think the problem with the constraints around the Star Wars universe is that everything, at least right now, is basically centered on the Empire, the Rebellion, the Skywalkers, the Death Stars. It's like there's rumors about yet another Death Star in the next. I mean, good Lord.
Well, I mean, the extended universe books had all of those death machines, right?
And guys, by the way, I've been watching I know we haven't talked about this on the show, but there is a canon animated series out right now, Star Wars Resistance. Star Wars Resistance is canon, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a good show. But it's not
I
a
got
bad
10 minutes into
show.
it. I got 10 minutes into it.
Yeah, it's not a bad show because
I'm really trying, man. I just can't. It's really bugging me, though.
I mean, however, I will give it credit. It did explain things. There was some exposition for some of the things that we all didn't know, but that's not good enough. All right. So let's get past Star Wars because seriously, I could go on and on and on. I want to cover at least one or two more subjects before we end. And seriously, I could go on about Star Wars. But we have our Lois Lane on Elseworlds on the CW. I linked the picture. I don't even know what's going to happen, but damn, I'm getting some Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder. I was going to say Robbie. Margot Kidder vibes from the picture that I linked. I mean, damn, what do you guys think? I'm excited.
I think that was intentional. That's what I think. I think that's exactly what they wanted you to think. And like we've had this discussion before, CW knows what they're doing. I expect it that we'll get something enjoyable here.
And son, by the way, where are you on The Flash?
Still waiting for season 5 to drop on Netflix because
No, you don't have to.
I'm lazy because I'm lazy.
Oh, cut it out! You go to CW app. You can watch right now.
I will watch it when I am ready to watch it.
Look,
okay?
No. You're gonna watch it with Shawn once you want to watch it.
If you're gonna talk about spoilers, go ahead and talk about spoilers.
I just finished Crisis on Earth X, so I'm really far behind all of yous. So
no, actually, that's a good place to be. That's a good place to be.
And by the way, I just want to point this out about Crisis on Earth X for anybody who plays video games on there.
Yeah.
My God, was this not Wolfenstein, the TV show that I watched during Crisis on Earth X? Okay, I just want to make sure that we're clear because it was exactly like Wolfenstein. I mean, like, I loved it. You got to understand that. I mean, how much I love the Wolfenstein series.
It's funny that you talked about that because I just rewatched Crisis on Earth X. It's awesome.
Which Wolfenstein? The older ones or the new ones?
The most recent ones.
There seems to be a lot of mechanical, newfangled stuff in the newer ones that just makes you kind of go, "Wow."
Yeah, well, yeah, and they did a good. I will give them credit in the game series. They have done a pretty good job of explaining exactly how they got all that cool technology. And the irony, spoiler alert, they stole it from the Jews. Yes, that's what the Nazis did, those fucking bastards.
I mean, well, you'd have to think
Nazis.
That would be that's the only route you can go when you're creating alien tech and the aliens are supposed to be gods and the Jewish people are supposed to be God's chosen people, right?
Yeah, this is exactly it. Is that it was the whole premise is that it's not alien tech, it's man-made. But we're talking about the ancient Jews who were so smart. There was like this group of Jewish scientists that were so smart. They created this technology thousands of years ago, but they hid it away because the world wasn't ready for it, and the Nazis found it. Is the problem?
I mean,
that's the premise. But it's kind of like Wolfenstein. It does a lot of this where it's almost how do we put this?
Wow, I never realized Wolfenstein was that deep.
Oh, it's incredibly deep. I was
shocked. The newer stuff is quite incredibly deep.
I burned through at Christmas time. I got the deal last year on Black Friday, I think, where I got the 3 games. I don't think I paid even the newest one. I don't think I paid more than $40 for all 3 games, and I just been hooked. I just burned through them so quickly because the story really was that compelling, and they do it. And they do just such a brilliant job.
And then they send you to the moon.
Yeah, you go to the moon. You go to Venus at one point. So yeah, they don't screw around. I mean, but what's interesting about it is how good of a job they do at it's very dark. It's like Man in the High Castle dark, but at the same time, how they really poke fun at Nazis and white supremacy at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, Nazis have all this technology because, of course, they stole it from the Jews. Fucking idiots. That's really what it.
Stupid Nazis.
Exactly right, because they wouldn't have been able to do it on their own, of course. And that's what I love about the tongue in cheek. Just hitting those notes all at the same time on that.
That makes me wonder, because the newer stuff is supposed to be they've taken over the world, and Blazkowicz has to take back America, quote unquote, from the Nazis. And the only thing going through my head is, what secret hidden tech did the Mayans have that they've just uncovered?
Well,
it's all written in the stars.
Yep, it's yeah, you're not far off, but yeah, it's.
Oh my God, it's actually Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
The Toltecs and the Mayans.
But Shawn, the fact that you actually just finished Crisis on Infinite Earths, that was a great.
That's Crisis on Earth X. We haven't had Infinite Earths yet, though. I think that's coming.
It is coming. I think you're right.
Oh, and by the way, George, we've had this discussion before too. If you like Crisis on Earth X, I will definitely say you will love The Man in the High Castle. Go watch.
Are we watching? Who else is watching that?
I
have been meaning to. I actually hear a lot of good things about it. So.
Oh, you should definitely check it out.
Oh, you will love it.
I have not watched this new season
Amazon.
yet.
Correct.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it's definitely worth watching. I haven't watched the third season yet, but I'm gonna start shortly.
I know what the show's about. I just haven't checked out any of the episodes, but I am interested. I like alternate history.
What's particularly good about Man in the High Castle, how they've done this, and I don't know how audiences didn't figure this out to begin with. That it was written by Philip K. Dick, who is a science fiction author. But if you ever watch the series Lost, I always point out that it's funny about Lost because people didn't realize they were watching a science fiction show until about the middle of the third season, and that's kind of. Yeah, well, it's true, and that's kind of what happened at the end. And I'm not giving anything away by saying this. You know who wrote the story. You know it's an alternate history story. So by the end of the first season,
same with Alias.
Well, they hit.
It started as a spy thing, and then they threw in the whole Da Vinci thing.
That's exactly.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's a twist. It's a big turn.
Right, and it's like
so it was written by M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, got it.
Well, you realize by the end of the first series, you're not just watching an alternate history. You're watching a full blown fucking sci-fi show that's brilliant. Is what you're watching, and a lot of people, and a lot of the audience, a lot of people in the audience. They had a hard time with that, and especially in the second season, because the second season really gets more to third season just fucking takes it to a new level.
Isn't it a bit like Game of Thrones though, where the guy hasn't finished the novel, so it's like which one's right, the producers or the guy? You know what I mean?
Well, Philip K. Dick died in 1982, so I mean, I've never read. I haven't read the book, but I will tell you this: that I have been watching a lot of like the supplemental videos that go along with this, and what they talk about are things that actually happened. Like with Amazon, they have a thing called Amazon X-Ray, where they'll give you like little trivia. You can hit a button, you get a little trivia on the screen. They talk about different scenes in the show that correlate to scenes in the book, and what was different, what was the same, and how they all what they did to tell this part of the story this way. So from what I can tell, they are trying to stay as close to the story as possible by adding more but adding more as they go along here.
Now I'm going to pull something. Hold on, I'm going to pull something, which is a Carlos. I'm going to reel us back because I realized that the whole reason I talked about this was for some reason I talked about Lois Lane and now we're talking about Nazis. So I'm just saying.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, totally. I'm just saying, Lois Lane, the reason why I like the image that I shared with you guys is, to me, I got a Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder sort of vibe.
Right.
Are we excited about this? I am.
Well, I mean, they look great. I really care about... We don't really know the story yet.
Right.
They're doing a great job teasing, which is fine. I just hope it's a good story.
That's it. Exactly. I mean, it's a tease, and it's a very it's very limited. We get a still. I mean, that's what we get. So it's like, I feel it's like I feel goofy talking on end about things like a still shot, because it's kind of like when I make fun of guys who do reaction videos to Star Wars trailers, it's like the same thing here. It's like, and Star Wars trailers give us a whole lot more than just this image. I mean, like I said, I expect good things from the CW. They do it. Berlanti does a great job. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see if we we get what we pay for, as we always seem to from that team.
All right, I completely agree with you. I think there's a lot of good things coming. I think that in general, TV is on a high note. I think that we're getting a lot of great content. It's almost like there's too much to talk about. It's like
there is. Well, I mean, we're in an era where the amount of competition from all different outlets, whether you're talking about network television, cable television, premium cable television, streaming services, even your YouTubes, we're getting so much content. It's just breeding competition, is what it comes down to, and that's good for all of us, is what it comes down to at the end of the day. I'm very excited about everything I'm seeing.
All right, and yeah, there's a couple of different topics I could have added to this, but you know what? The ones we did talk about, I think we went way, not way over. I want to say we covered it. So, yeah. So,
have you guys finished watching the new season of Daredevil?
I did.
No,
I have not.
I'm the only one. I'm shocked.
You're not the only one.
Been a super busy last month, so
right.
I'm behind on a lot of things.
All right, Son and I are just going to talk now because we're the ones that saw it. I'm just kidding.
So that was fun watching all of that stuff happen, wasn't it?
I feel I want to watch it, but I'm also at the same time thinking, and this is what I hate. I know they're going to get canceled. I know what Marvel's doing, Disney, and it's like,
look, no, they're not going to get canceled. What's going to happen is that they're going to move it to Disney's streaming channel.
I will.
Yeah, but is it going to be the same?
Yeah, it'll be exactly the same people running it, the same actor, everything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just going to wholly lift the series. Say it was canceled on Netflix.
You really
exactly. On the news. They're going to say it's canceled on Netflix, lift it, move it to the new place, and then I will never watch any of the rest of it because it's behind another paywall.
If you guys are going to be the sort of holy, as you put it, holy moly people that say that George, you can keep watching, you can watch Daredevil, it's okay. Just because it's getting canceled, don't worry about it. I'm actually going.
I mean, what does cancellation mean in the 21st century? It's not.
It means
that it moves to Netflix.
Exactly, it moves to another streaming service. I mean,
here's the thing about the other season, the series that they've told so far. I've watched them all now, and I got to the end of them thinking that honestly, their heart wasn't in it. Is what it comes down to with the production. At the end of this season of Daredevil, I was like, well, this show's coming back, no question at all, because it seems very clear that they intend to take this story to the next chapter, whatever that chapter may be. And again, it's the performance, of course, by the whole cast, but my God, why am I drawing a blank on the guy's name right now?
Fisk is amazing.
He's the
I
best
keep
part
hearing
of the whole
this.
damn series.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah,
so good.
He's always been.
He's so good.
He is so manipulative, and you just can't help but enjoy that he's that manipulative.
He's so deliciously evil. And,
he is that rare Marvel villain that's actually a great villain.
Yeah, right. And I think it was a little in season 2, as much as I love season 2, because you know what, a huge Punisher fan of that, I think it was a little bit underplayed. I think because of how much attention was given to Frank Castle in season 2. I mean, that was a good, I think 6 episodes of that season where it was the Punisher storyline, and very little Wilson Fisk. So yeah, I mean,
Well, Fisk was in jail, so
right, exactly, and they did, and of course, which led to one of the most vicious scenes ever in that 10th episode when Fisk tries to have Castle killed in prison. It didn't work out nearly as well as he hoped, but yeah, I mean, it's you're reminded in season 3 just how good Fisk is at being bad. I mean, it was absolutely compelling. I burned through it so quickly. It was great.
Well, all right. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've covered a lot of good stuff. I mean, there's a couple other topics I could talk about, but it's been a couple hours. So
hey, George, we got a nice tight episode here. We didn't go off the rails too much. I mean, we did
not too much.
Talk about all the fun stuff. We did pretty good, I think.
I mean,
yes.
I mean, Carlos is getting better at reeling us in. So
indeed, yep,
Carlos. Where can people
yanking the leash as appropriate?
I am.
Guys, he's trying to end the show. Let him in the show.
I want to put you guys
reel us out.
Carlos, where can people find you on your leash? I mean, social media.
I am at Steve Pedraza on Twitter, at Axamonitor on Twitter, and on the Axamonitor Facebook group on Facebook as it happens.
All right. And so, I thought it was so funny last episode when Shell said, "Where can people find you?" And I said, "Here." Anyways, you can find me here. So, son, where can people find you?
Facebook.com/SunSealFan is where, well, when a certain episode gets released, I'll be publishing all the things that I've been on lately.
Yes. That's not just an inside joke, it's an external joke. You'll understand when I release the episode soon. Maybe.
Very good. If I could throw in a quick little plug before we move on to Shawn. Speaking of Section 31, there is a if you want to get a sense of what kind of dramatic possibilities exist around a Section 31 series, there is an excellent audio podcast series that was made probably about 10 years ago called Star Trek: The Section 31 Files, produced by a guy named Eric Busby from Oregon. Great guy and really compelling story. And it's set actually in the same universe as Star Trek: Hidden Frontier, which I used to write and produce, and we even share characters between the two series. So it's worth checking out. You can find it. I think it's on iTunes still. Star Trek: The Section 31 Files, and I ran, I think, 3 seasons, almost 4 seasons.
Was it the Doctor? Was it the Tellarite Doctor? Was that the guy that was the character?
No, that's a totally different. That's a totally different thing.
I'm
sorry. This was not a Hidden Frontier production. It's just set in the same universe.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
And it's I like it. I thought it was pretty good. I haven't listened to it in a few years, but I really like the direction they explored with what Section 31 offers.
All right, and Shawn, where can people find you, Time Lords 2?
Oh, I'll be over at the X-Monitor group as usual.
Just kind of hanging out.
You also have to remember, Shawn doesn't have a leash. He has a ball and chain and little ballettes.
That's exactly.
He has the best ballettes ever. I love his kids.
Entertaining. So I realized I'm also on Twitter, so I forgot about that. So if anybody wants to harass me on Twitter, feel free. It's at Shawn P. O'Halloran, ShawnPOhalloran. It's on that's me on Twitter. So I think I got like a dozen sock puppets too, but I'll never tell who they are. But anyway.
He did actually invite you all to harass him. He didn't say talk to him. He said, "I'm joking."
No, it's not fun if you don't harass me. You got to harass me, right? I mean, what fun is that if you're just gonna idle chit chat? No. I want to be trolled. Thank you very much. Just troll me.
All right. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for listening. If you put up with us and you want to hear more, just tune in for the next episode. Until then,
or just peruse the library because you're listening to this on YouTube.
for now. Yeah.
All right, George. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
That was
on
an
again.
internal.
Sounds
promo.
good. And I hope next week we can talk about Pating.
Oh man.
He said put and then ding.
What?
No, I said Pating.
Yes, we can. We will do that.
What is that?
Oh, is he talking about a spittoon or something?
All right.
Is that some kind of new Nintendo game?
No,
It could be.
you stay awake the next time you try watching the last week's episode of Doctor Who,
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what I missed?
and all will be
Yeah.
revealed.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Pating.
I didn't erase it just because I thought that maybe I should watch this again. So it is on the DVR still. I will go and watch it one more time.
I mean,
I haven't even watched it once yet, so I mean,
she's
I
waiting
have
for
this
me
to look
because she's
forward to.
very stubborn, as she will say over and over and over. Anyways, so I will get the Reaction Who episode up soon, probably tomorrow. In fact, I guarantee tomorrow, or else my name is Mud. Anyways, thank you for
Carry
joining us.
Mud.
You're still not having sex with Michelle Yeoh.
Damn it. You say that now. You wait. Anyways.
All right,
I will
guys.
do-
Catch you later. I'm down to 1% battery here. I'll see you guys later.
Okay,
Bye.
we're
I'm
out
down
of
to
here.
1% sanity, so it's okay. All right, you guys.
I'm stopping the recording now.
User disconnected
Me too.
From your user in your channel stopped recording.
Talk to you next time, because I have to get the last word in. It's sort of like my life thing.
Sure.
I'll talk to you next time.